everybody, I'm Steve Saunders. Welcome to another edition of Around Town, where we connect you to events and organizations in the town of Wethersfield. Tonight we have a very special guest, Larry Spellacy, the chairman of the Memorial Day Parade Committee here in town. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, sure, thank you.
So, talk to me about what it's like to be the chairman of a committee like this.
Well, I certainly will. It's a very interesting committee. First of all, we have a diversion of people on our committee that represent different professions, we have some town officials, we have volunteers, and we all kind of try to work together to put together a parade that we can be proud of, that attracts people, and that most importantly pays tribute to our veterans, because that's what really Memorial Day is all about. We want to pause and thank our men and women for serving our country. There's still approximately 100,000 overseas in deployment in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and we want to make sure that the servicemen and women know that the American people support their efforts, and that's really what the Memorial Day Parade is all about. It's a celebration, and at the same time, it's to pay respect, particularly for those men and women who gave their lives for our country, dating back to the 237 years since our country's been in operation since 1776. So the committee consists of about 12 individuals, all residents of the town of Wethersfield, who share a like interest. They're not all veterans, but they all bring forth their time and their talent to put together a parade that encompasses all the various aspects, some of which we'll cover this evening, most of which we'll cover this evening. So it's kind of fun being the chairman. You get a lot of credit. You don't necessarily have to do all the work because you can delegate it, but you have to oversee it, and you have to listen to people's input, and then as a committee we decide what we think is best for the particular year. Just for an example, we asked the committee at our very first meeting to think about a theme for the parade. And we perhaps will come back at our next meeting and have 4 or 5 different themes. And people will explain why they think that theme is more important that is more reflective of the time than someone else's theme. And we'll discuss them all, and then the committee will select what they think is most appropriate. For example, this year, 2012, we have designated the parade as Welcome Home. And what that really is trying to say is we want to make sure that all of the veterans, whether they served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Iraq, or Afghanistan, are welcomed back into their community, back into the town of Wethersfield, and in a larger sense, back into any city or town that they've come back home to, and resume their lives. So we're saying, welcome home. We're glad that you're back. We wish everyone would be back, but as all of these units are deployed and then return home, we want to make sure they feel welcome and can resume their normal lives, their civilian lives again. Sure. With that in mind, it's just one of the aspects of being the chairman. So we listen to the input from various members. We talk about it, and then we use the American democratic way, the majority rules. So it's not just my opinion or just one other member's opinion, it's the entire group of us. And if you'd like to see who they are, you can go onto the town's website, just put in Memorial Day Parade, and a very nice color picture will pop up, and you'll see the men and women that comprise our committee for this year.
Fantastic. Well, it is a fantastic event.
Good.
And we're excited to talk about it
Thank
tonight.
you, and I'm glad to be here to help promote it.
Fantastic. Awesome. So let's talk about the logistics of the parade. It's coming up May 26th.
May 26th.
On a Saturday.
It's a Saturday morning. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, what we do, Steve, is we start out at the Motor Vehicle Department on State Street. And it's a very good place to start because, number one, there's a huge parking lot. The Motor Vehicles is closed on Saturday. In fact, they're closed on Memorial Day weekend. So we can use the entire parking lot for buses that bring our bands, buses that bring groups, parents that drop their children off, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts that they don't have their own automobile, so the parents drop them off there. Easy in, easy out. And it's a wonderful place to stage the parade in all of the different elements in the parking lot, so that when we finally step off at 9 o'clock in the morning, everybody's in place and the parade just kind of flows very naturally. And we start then at State Street. So we go up State Street to the monument that's at the corner of Hartford Avenue and State Street. And there's two monuments there, actually. One was put up in 1933, and I suspected it was to honor the World War I veterans, but I think it was also to honor Civil War and Revolutionary War veterans. So it's a very large monument. And then the second monument that's there is the Vietnam Memorial. That's off to the left in the same park area. So what we do, the parade arrives at that monument, and we place one wreath at the 1933 monument, and then a secondary wreath is placed on the Vietnam Memorial. We play taps, we have a short ceremony there, and then the parade resumes and proceeds down to Garden Street. Now, I point out that Garden Street is an excellent place to watch the parade. First of all, there's the park there and Hamner School. So there's plenty of areas on the street to bring your lawn chair, bring your cup of coffee, and sit there on a Saturday morning and just watch the parade go by. On the other side of the street, we have beautiful tree-lined street. So if you like to sit in the shade, well, then you sit on that side of the street. But either side, very, very good viewing places. And as I pointed out, there's places to park your car. Because sometimes when you get to a parade, it's always a problem is, where am I going to park? Well, you can park right adjacent to where you're sitting there watching the parade. Now, the parade will proceed down Garden Street, and once we get to Church Street, we'll take a left-hand turn. And we'll turn left, and we'll go down about 1.5 blocks till we reach Main Street. And Main Street is Old Wethersfield, the historic part of the town, the part that we are most proud of as residents of Wethersfield. The parade will turn right on the corner of Church Street and Main and go down through the historic district. And now, if Garden Street is were to be classified as like A, B, or C, give them a B for location. Give Main Street an A, because we have the Keeney Center, absolute wonderful place to park your car. Walk up through the parking lot, and you're right on the Main Street. You can sit down there, you can watch the parade, you can sit on the steps of the Keeney Center, you can sit in front of one of the historic houses on the other side of the street, and there's a couple of restaurants, so if you feel like a cup of coffee or a soda, you can stop in and get a soda and watch the parade go by. So that is an ideal place. There's actually room if you have children with you. They can sort of run around a little bit, and when the parade comes by, and they can really watch the parade as it unfolds. Now, once the parade gets to the corner of Main Street and Garden, then we take a left-hand turn, and we go down Garden Street to Broad Street. And Broad Street is where we'll have the reviewing stand, where the parade will stop, and our parade marshals, our town officials, our dignitaries will walk up onto the reviewing stand and sit there. The parade will resume, and then all of those people will sit and review the parade as it passes by. Again, a very, very good place to park, because you have the entire Broad Street Green, and you can sit there under the trees, under the shade. You can sit on the other side of the street where Anderson Farms is, and again, it's a lot of historic homes. The Bed and Breakfast, which is you might say one of the most prestigious buildings in town. You can sit in front of that building and watch the parade as it unfolds past there. So that's pretty much the parade route. A couple things that are very nice about the route is it's all flat. There's no hills. It's about 1.3 miles, so it's not a strenuous parade. And we find that it's just ideal for young people, for our bands, particularly our high school bands, our marching bands, and we'll get into that in a little more detail. But it's just an easy route, and it goes right, it terminates at the village cemetery. So that's the conclusion of the parade. And it's not really, when you think about the village cemetery, it's not that far back up to the motor vehicle department, so you can take your time when the parade is over and get back up and get your car or get back on the bus, and it'll take you back to the area. So that's the parade route, and 2 or 3 different spots to watch it at, and they're all good. It's just a matter of your personal preference.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the new things that are happening this year with the parade.
Okay.
Flags of Appreciation and all that.
The Flags of Appreciation is a brand new program. There was a group of, it's called the Newington Wethersfield Women's Club, and it's a group of professional women. They're part of a national organization. They have a local chapter here. And what they've approached the town with an idea for the Memorial Day Parade, and we, as a parade committee, we're very excited about listening to their presentation. What they're going to do is, part of their fundraiser, they are going to sell American flags. They're about 17 inches by 11.5 inches. And they're going to sell the flags for $10, which is pretty much like a donation. And they're also, but they're going to personalize it. They're going to ask you to designate the veteran who the flag is in either memory of if they're deceased, or if they're living, just to honor that veteran. And they're going to put a little banner on the flag to designate who it is for. They're going to take all of the flags that they, through this fundraising program, and we're going to designate an area at the Broad Street Green. We're going to especially marked off where all these flags will be out on display. So as the parade marches by, everybody will see these flags. And we're hoping there perhaps will be 100, maybe 125 of these flags on the Broad Street Green. Now, there's an extra feature about this that we really like. At the conclusion of the parade on Saturday morning, when it's all said and done, the person who the flag has been dedicated to can go to the Broad Street Green and pick their flag up and take it home with them.
Fantastic. So
it's really a win-win situation. The women's organization raises money, and I'm going to tell you what they do with this money just in a minute. The veteran, who perhaps is associated with Wethersfield, but doesn't have to be, is honored by his or her own personal flag, and the entire town gets to see this beautiful display of American flags. The women's organization that's sponsoring this and that's come up with this initiative uses some of this money to promote the programs at the Veterans Hospital in Rocky Hill, which we know is both a hospital for our hospitalized type veterans and a domicile where veterans can live there and work in the community, and they have a variety of programs to benefit our veterans. So it's, like I say, it's a win-win situation, and the individual who the flag is for can go back to the Broad Street Green and bring the flag home with them. So it's the first time we've tried it, and we're hoping for a very successful way. And let me tell you, just so that your viewers will know how they can participate.
Sure.
Again, if they go onto the town's website and they put in Memorial Day Parade and they click on Flags of Appreciation, a secondary screen will pop up. There's a little form. You fill out the name of the person, and you mail it with your $10 check, and you mail it to P.O. Box 310046, Newington, Connecticut, and the zip code at Newington is 06131. And that's all there's to it. And then come out to the parade, come out and look at the flags, and the veteran who you bought it for, you can bring the flag to his home or her home, or if the veteran is there, they can take it themselves. Okay?
That sounds fantastic.
So it's a great program. The other thing that you asked, what we've tried to do something new. We try to do things new every year, and again, that's what my committee is all about. They come up with these ideas. I'll say to them, you know, guys and gals, we need some ideas, and they did. This year they came up with an idea, and in keeping with our theme of Welcome Home, we recognize that many of the veterans here in Wethersfield, as well as throughout the United States, are from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and they're starting to get up into that, whether World War II and Korea are all in the senior citizen category. The Vietnam veterans are rapidly approaching that if they're not already there. I happen to be a veteran of Vietnam myself, and I turned 65 2 years ago. So what we're doing is we're inviting the veterans to participate in this year's parade But we're not asking them to march in the parade because we fear that might be a little too strenuous, but they're welcome to if they want to. What they can do is call the Parks and Recreation Department, and I'll give you the number in a minute, and we will have a designated seat for them right alongside the reviewing stand on the Broad Street Green, so they can sit there as a place of honor with the dignitaries and watch the parade go by. So they can participate, and it'll be marked veterans of Wethersfield. They can go there, they can sit on the green, watch the parade. We're going to make sure it's in the shade so they stay nice and comfortable. And I keep pointing that out because I'm really hoping that we get a sunny day.
Right.
If we do have some rain, we have some contingent plans. We'll talk about that a little bit later in your show. But all they have to do is call Parks and Recreation at 860-721-2890. Give us their name, and they're welcome to sit there. If they have a caregiver or a spouse or a significant other, that person is welcome to participate in the program also. So the veteran is not just there by themselves. So just tell us how many you want, and we'll make sure we have a seat for you. Okay. So there's a couple of new things that we have each year. Mm-hmm. But that's the big thing this year. Okay?
Now, we talked about how the parade is more of a celebration.
Correct.
And then when we make it to the village cemetery, that's honoring those who...
That's honoring our deceased veterans, right. And that becomes the solemn part of the day. Mm-hmm. Memorial Day was originally just to honor the deceased veterans, and particularly those men and women who gave their lives while defending our country. Now, in Wethersfield, we have lost 44 of our men in World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. The vast majority are World War II. But what we do, and we have a roll of honor. We actually, when we get to the village cemetery as part of our program, we will read the individual names of those men, and their names are inscribed on the monument at the village cemetery. Mm-hmm. They're permanently engraved in the concrete monument that's there, and we will actually read their names while Colonel Chester, which is our local fife and drum corps, they will play a muted drum roll. So the names will be read very solemnly, and that is part of the way we honor the deceased veterans. The entire program in the cemetery is to honor our deceased veterans, particularly remembering those who gave their lives in those conflicts. Fortunately, so far we haven't lost anyone from Iraq or Afghanistan, so I hope we don't have to add any more names. But as you know, the conflict still continues.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So that's really our part of our ceremony in the cemetery. One of the aspects of it.
Now, every year there's parade marshals.
There are, yes.
About them.
We have again, the committee reviews the applications, people who we feel should be honored. And this year we have selected 2 parade marshals. And what we've tried to do, and again in keeping with our theme of Welcome Home, we have both ends of the spectrum represented by our parade marshals this year. We have Jim Griswold, who is a World War II veteran, actually participated in the Battle of the Bulge, as one of our parade marshals, and our second marshal is a woman, Angela Pallone, and Angela was in the National Guard, and her unit was deployed to Iraq. So she is a current veteran, a veteran of a current conflict. Both have returned home. Fortunately, they're from war, and so what we're doing is we're honoring Jim and Angela, who represent the entire aspect, the entire spectrum of veterans in our community, and they will be in the parade. We have a beautiful convertible automobile, and they'll ride in the back seat of the car and wave to the people and smile, and they'll be wearing a sash indicating that there are marshals for this year. And when we get to the village cemetery, we'll present them with a plaque in recognition of their contribution, not only in the military, but if you read their background, when they returned home, Jim particularly, continued on, not he obviously had to go to work and raise his family. But he continued to do volunteer work for the community, for the state. Angela, the same way. Angela is very active in the Veterans Home and in hospital program. Stand Down, which takes place in September, which helps our homeless veterans and veterans who need medical attention. So they devote their lives, if you will, to doing volunteer work. And so we honor them for their service to our country, but we also recognize that they are responsible citizens, and we want to point that out to them. So point that out to the community at large. So we'll designate that, and we'll talk a little bit briefly about their background, and then we'll present them with the plaques and welcome them home, and make sure that what we're showing is that everyone is welcome to welcome back to their communities.
Right. So we're talking about the parade marshals, but it sounds like there's a lot of players that are part of this parade. How do you organize all the different organizations that become part of the day?
Yeah, the part of the parade, what we do is we ask every organization in the town to fill out an application to tell us what they would like to participate, how they would like to participate in the parade is what I should say. By that I mean, will they have a float? Will they just have a marching unit? Will they have banners? The bands we actually contract with, but any unit, whether it's the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the youth organizations, the Teen Theater, the Wethersfield Historical Society, on and on, the social service organizations like Unico, the Lions Club, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign War, all of these organizations that have operations and activities in the town, they fill out an application, and a couple of members of my committee will actually sit down, and we will, what we call, establish the line of march. We will designate each group as to where they're going to be in the parade. And what we do, we have actually 5 bands in our parade. So we have 5 units. We consider them the lead unit. We have the Wethersfield High School Band and Wethersfield Cheerleaders. We have the Colonel Chester, as I mentioned, Colonel Chester Fife and Drum Corps. We have the Marlboro Fife and Drum Corps, and we have the other school, it's in Hartford, Buckley High School Marching Band, and we're presently trying to arrange with the Cromwell Fife and Drum Corps. So each one of those bands will form up a unit, and then behind them is where we will slot in the various organizations, along with the police department, the fire department, the ambulances, and all of these other community activities that are all part of the parade. So we will actually line up and prepare a line of march, and then we'll put that out on our website. So the organization can go in there and they can see just exactly where they're going to be. And then on the morning of the parade, as I pointed out at State Street, at the motor vehicle department, when these units arrive, we'll tell them they're going to be in group number 4, and they're going to be behind this one or in front of this group, and they will just kind of assemble in the area, and then when the parade steps off, it'll come. So it'll actually look like we really know what we're doing. But behind the scenes, there's an awful lot of work. A lot of preparation. Because, some of the groups are large. The Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts are the biggest group, because they encompass them all. So we have to make sure that we have a couple of smaller groups in between them, and then that becomes one unit. We might have 5 or 6 other units let's say in group number 3, because they're smaller. And some have banners, some have floats. So we have to make sure we have sufficient room for the trucks to get around that are carrying the kids or the adults. Meadowbrook Farms, for example, will have some horses, and we'll have a variety of things. We have fire trucks, we have ambulances, we'll have the rescue squad, we'll have the antique automobiles, we even have an antique police car. So we sit down and we go through each one of these and spread them out on the table, and almost like to make a little mini parade in the Parks and Recreation conference room office about a week before the parade, and we get everything put together, and then we just kind of sit back and say, I hope this is going to work, and it almost always does,
That's right.
But it really does. But there's a lot of preparation. That's why I have a committee. I have about 14 people on the committee, so there's plenty of work to go around, and it becomes fun in a way. to see it develop from virtually nothing up to a full-blown parade that we can be proud of. And then, as I said, we come into the village cemetery, and there's a lot of preparation and planning there, because we open with a prayer, we open with a invocation by a member of our clergy, we played a national anthem, we then have introduced the town officials, the mayor and the town officials. We have our essay contest. I should maybe just briefly talk about the essay contest. This is where we, at the Saunders Middle School, the 8th graders are asked to write an essay based on the theme of this year's parade, and then our committee will designate 2 or 3 people, and they will pick an essay winner. And that young man or woman will read his or her essay as part of our village cemetery program. I've already talked about honoring the parade marshals. There's a guest speaker, and I don't want to toot my own whistle, but my committee said, Larry, you got to be the guest speaker one of these years. And since you've returned from Vietnam a long time ago, 40-some-odd years, but they just thought that I could perhaps share with the people in the village cemetery what it's like to leave home and what it's like to return back a couple of years later. I didn't make a career of the military, but so I'm going to share some thoughts and some ideas and try to reflect on the impact that military service has, not only on the individual who's called to serve, who's asked to serve, or who volunteers to serve, but on their family. And now we see a lot of soldiers who are part of the National Guard that are working full-time, and then their unit gets deployed and they're gone for a year, 12, 14, 15 months. So they asked me to talk about that, and so I'm going to be this year's guest speaker.
And they made a good choice.
Well, thank you, Steve. Yeah, all right, good. And I'm going to give, I'm limited to 5 minutes. Some people say I can't even say my own name in 5 minutes, but we'll cover that.
And I'm curious, being a veteran yourself,
Sure.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
By the way.
All right.
What does the event mean to you? I'm sure it means something personal to you.
Well, it does mean something personal to me. In particular, Wethersfield, the community, is saying that we appreciate what you did, the risks that you took to protect our way of life. And Steve, you know that the Constitution of our country guarantees the freedoms: freedom of the press, freedom of the assembly, freedom to practice the religion that you select, freedom to vote and to elect your officials. And they're words on a piece of paper. But what our military does is they ensure that our democratic way of life, that our freedoms are protected and are not challenged by any force that will try to change our way of life. And so when you sit back as a veteran and you see that the town honors you, the town is really saying, thank you for your service. We appreciate what you have done for us, and we hope that you serve as a model for other men and women to carry on that responsibility. As I said, someday I hope there'll be world peace, and that we won't have to have military deployed. But since I think time has ever begun, there's always seemed to be conflict, and so I hope, or that's the way I feel, that when the town pauses to honor us as veterans, that they're really saying thank you for what you did, and we hope that you inspire our next generation or generation after that to continue on, because we value this way of life. We cherish the fact that we are a free people, and we are a diverse group of people, all walks of life, all religions, all races, all colors and creeds, and that's what we want to preserve. So that's what it means to me. I'm honored that the almost 10 years ago now, the mayor asked me to head up this committee. It's been a wonderful experience. I enjoy doing it, and I really get the satisfaction of seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of people come out and line the streets, participate with us, and begin what I consider the unofficial start of summer. It's Memorial Day weekend, so when the parade ends and the ceremony is concluded in the village cemetery, it's just about 11 o'clock in the morning, a couple hours after it starts. You can go home, you can cook some hamburgers and barbecue and enjoy the summer. And hopefully we'll be around next year to do it all again.
So if you can maybe in one sentence tell someone why they should come out to the Memorial Day Parade, what would you say? I
would say come on out to the parade, you enjoy the day, you show us that you support what our military stands for, whether you believe in the war or not, and there's always been controversies with war, but your participation, your attendance at our parade at our village cemetery says that we appreciate what you're doing, what our current veterans, our current servicemen and women are doing, and we want to make sure that democracy continues on for another 237 years and beyond that, perhaps.
Very good.
Okay.
Larry Spellacy, thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
out.
Steve, and I enjoyed the program, and I hope we have a nice sunny day. Oh, just in case we don't, do we have a minute? Sure. Just in case we don't, if it's a pouring rainy day, we actually will move the ceremony into the Wethersfield High School. We'll invite the bands to come in to play some music. We won't be able to march all of our units around because there's not enough room, but we'll have the ceremony in the cemetery, and then when the weather clears up, we'll actually go and put the wreaths at the various locations that I talked about. But we'll have our parade marshals there. We'll honor them. We'll listen to our essay contest winner. We'll hear the guest speaker. We'll have our roll of honor. We'll read the names of our deceased veterans. So we'll have everything we would have in the village cemetery. We'll be at the high school. It'll start right at around 9 o'clock. But hopefully it won't rain, and we've been lucky in the last many years. We haven't had a rain date. We've come close, but we were able to get the parade in. So if everything is good, the sun will shine on us, or at least it won't rain, and we'll be able to have the parade. We'll have the ceremony. We'll have our flags out on Broad Street. We'll have our veterans sitting there, and it'll be a wonderful day. Great way to start the summer, and a great way to express the support that military personnel really need, because they have a tough job. And when they hear of towns like us having parades, they just feel good about it, and they know that their mission is worthwhile, and that someday they'll be part of the parades and part of the celebration.
It's an excellent event, and we're looking forward to it, and we're hoping for some sun.
Good. All right. Sure. All right, Steve.
If you'd like more information about the Memorial Day Parade, you can log on to our website. That's WCTV14.com. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Around Town. I'm Steve Saunders. Have a great week.